What World Cup are you talking about? uh, Let me make this announcement. A great rattler has fallen, Dennis Jefferson, and some rattlers are collecting some funds to help pay for funeral services. So if anybody would like to make a contribution to funeral services for Dennis Jefferson, make your check payable to Tillman's Funeral Home. Wilma, I meant to tell you this when I was at the table. Did you hear me about Dennis Jefferson? You did? Okay. He passed away, and those who want to make a contribution to help with the funeral, just pass them on to Wilma. She didn't hear what I said, but she'll just, she's a true 5-star athlete. Yeah, is it limited, Tommy, and who can attend? Some of those, he has been in the military service, isn't he? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, good. One little quick Carmen Jones? Oh, that's right. I forgot Carmen passed. Oh, yeah, I heard about that, Leroy. I understand he's a much better. You know, when I was sports information director, Carmen was playing. Leroy, I was sports information director when Carmen was playing. So I've seen you and I've seen him. He was a much better player. Yeah. But he was a very, very, very nice guy. Coach Simmons graciously stopped by for a little while to bring us up to date. I understand he signed some new players and he just got back from an important trip. I want to tell a quick little story. This assistant coach was trying to get a scholarship for this player he wanted, but the man's grades were not that good, so he took him to the president and said, "We got to have him. You got to give him a scholarship." So the president said, "Okay, if he answers this problem, I'll give him a scholarship." He said, "What is 5 times 5?" And the player said, 25. And before the president could say anything, the assistant coach said, "Give him another chance, Mr. President. Give him another chance." Some of these assistant coaches need a little more work. With that, it gives me great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the head coach of the Florida A&M University Rattlers, Coach Willie Simmons.
Oh, you know I'm gonna steal that one, Eddie. I gotta take that was a good one. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. We are back in the swing of things. Obviously, school started last week, so our guys are all registered up and started working out officially on Monday. So Coach Brooks always gives the guys an option to whether they're going to work out or take MLK Day off, and it was unanimous. They wanted to work out, and so obviously we honor Martin Luther King and his contribution, but those guys are determined and driven and decided they wanted to honor King by going to work in the weight room on Monday. So they're 3 days. Today's their official day off. They go Monday, Tuesdays, off on Wednesdays, and then lift again on Thursdays and Fridays. And so they this morning they went out and threw. The receivers and quarterbacks went out and threw on the field, and so they're really working 5 days a week, even though Wednesday's their off day. But they had a team meeting on Sunday, a player-only meeting on Sunday, and they called me in. The seniors called me in, and wanted to run some things by me that they wanted to try to implement. And that was the first time that that's happened, that the group is called me in before the workouts began and really wanted to nail some things down. So they're really big on accountability this year, really big on just, doing the little things right. And so I'm really encouraged by this group, really excited about what they're capable of doing. And the new guys have all gotten in and gotten acclimated, and all seem to be doing really well. And so we're still got a little work to do as far as recruiting. We actually have a young man on campus today, an offensive lineman transfer, and he is hopefully we'll seal the deal today and then get him up and rolling. He'll be another key piece to the puzzle up front. So at this point, we feel really good about what we've done in the areas of the skill positions, but we're looking to add a little bit more depth on the offensive and defensive interior lines. Defensive line wise, we've signed 3 defensive ends, but we want a couple of more defensive tackles to build some depth, and then on the offensive line, just bringing in a couple more pieces to build some quality depth and competition there. But again, really encouraged about this group. I think this season's going to be, obviously it's a long ways away. Got a lot of work to do between now and early September. But this group has the makings to bring our first outright SWAC championship here, and first Celebration Bowl berth, in our history. So, but we're encouraged. So we'll be working out, obviously, for the next few weeks. As coaches, we have 2 more weeks to recruit before signing day on February 1st. So we will have, we will put together a kind of a signing day event just to announce all the signees. It probably won't be as grandiose as it's been in the past, because again, most of our signees are already here and in school, and we'll sign a few high school guys in February to finish out the class. And so we'll hit the road next 2 weeks. And then once we get off the road, we'll start what we call our 4th quarter program, which is our early morning conditioning drill. So we'll be out there bright and early at 6 a.m. Twice a week on the field, going through different agility drills and mental toughness drills. And then we'll do that for 3 weeks. And then we'll start spring practice the 1st of March. And so we'll go 5 weeks of spring practice, 3 days a week, Wednesday mornings, Friday afternoons, Saturday afternoons. Obviously, we'll take the week of spring break off, and then we'll come back and finish up. And then the spring game will be April 15th. And obviously, we're excited about that. So we're going to do the same format we did last year with the draft. We're going to try to increase it a little bit, make it a little bit more interactive. And so look forward to getting some input of how we can make that happen and make it a big deal. Last year's draft was a huge success. First time we've ever done it, but it's something we want to definitely continue. So, but that's pretty much our schedule for the next few months. And again, signing day, we'll be excited about this class that we finally put together and start to build this team for next season. So definitely want to come before AD Sykes came and give you a brief update, and we'll definitely open the floor up and take some questions. I see. Is Eddie going to be a coach for spring game? We're gonna pick honorary coaches again. We'll do honorary coaches again like we did last year. And where's my girl with? Oh yeah, y'all got to come with it now. The pregame speech last year was on point, and I think you saw the result in the games. And so we'll definitely do that again this year, and have to have 2 honorary coaches for the spring game. But yeah, we'll definitely be excited about that. The summer school plan. Well, the plan right now is to have them all here, and AD Sykes obviously will be here shortly, so she can speak more to the financial side of things. That's always the concern when it comes to summer school, is the funding. And so we feel like we have a good plan for the funding for the young men and women this summer. And so we think we'll be able to get the vast majority of our guys here for summer school. Mm-hmm.
Are they more impressive than the kids that you brought in last year?
Go ahead, boss. Mm-hmm.
And the kids that you brought in last year, I asked you a couple of questions like never known last year. And I feel, and I think you felt too, and the upset of North Carolina, I definitely felt that we could have beat North Carolina. Had we not had the debacle before we got there. If we had not had that we go there with a full strength team, I do think North Carolina would have been in serious trouble, and we could have walked in. Now that's what I'm asking on these kids that you're bringing in now. Can they come in and in August play and look as good as the kids that you brought in last year, like quarterback? He came in last year.
Mm-hmm.
He was throwing in that North Carolina game like anybody can play quarterback. Not anybody. Quarterbacks are special people. Some linemen you brought in last year, they came in and they could play offensive line. And I know we got the one third up there in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
That we lost. I think we lost
for the year. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But those kids could play.
Right. So yeah. So. I got you. Yeah. So the question is, how does this bunch compare to last year's bunch, right? So we brought in a good amount of guys last year in the mid-year, just like we did this year. And so I think you're always optimistic, obviously, whenever you sign an older guy, whether it be a 4-year transfer or a 2-year transfer, the reason you bring them in is because you feel they can compete right away, right? When we want to develop guys, we're going to go more of the high school route that we can have them here a little bit longer. So we're as encouraged about this year's bunch as last year. Now you look at that group, you had Jeremy's the second team all-conference quarterback. Hey, boss. Oh, so you go and escort the AD in, huh? I noticed you took my parking spot, first of all, so I see what we are, Eddie. Y'all give our AD a hand. Yeah, that's it. So again, but we're always encouraged about those guys. But you look at Jeremy, second team all conference quarterback, Jalen Goss, first team all conference offensive lineman, Isaiah Major, second team all conference linebacker, Dre Jones, big game against Alabama State, Anthony Dunn, 3 sacks in the Classic. So we had a lot of those guys that came in and had tremendous impacts right away, right? And that's the goal. So a lot of that will be determined the next couple of months. And so we knew that Isaiah Major was an intense player. When we brought him on his visit, he was, just his energy, he just exuded energy and confidence on his visit. But it wasn't until we started practice that we saw that we had something special. And I think if you remember the spring game last year, he had a pick six and a bunch of tackles. And I think everybody kind of said, okay, who is this number 0 guy? Right? Same thing with Jeremy. And so we'll ask me that question again after the spring. And then I'll know. No, I said, but I'll know more about. But again, a lot of these guys are coming from, winning programs. And, Sharif, the defensive end from Southeast Louisiana. We played against Sharif in the playoffs. He was a good player back then 2 years ago. Deco Wilson, had 75 tackles at Jacksonville State last year. So again, a lot of these guys have Jamari Gassett, was Buffalo's third leading receiver. And so again, they show the ability and all that, but again, time will tell whether this year's group is. If they can have the same type of impact, then I mean that bodes well for us as a football team, because a lot of those guys are, have big time ability and play really well last year. We signed a transfer punter, Trey Wilhoit from Eastern Illinois, and then the kicker is a high school guy that's coming in from he's a local guy, a high school guy from McClay. Yeah. We have Jack Brooks, who we signed last year from Leon. So Jack and Michael Smith will battle for the place kicking job, and then Trey Wilhoit will more than likely be the punter. The quarterback depth chart. Oh, so you just took Ed out the starting spot. So I appreciate that too for how he treated me today. So yeah, so Ed is no longer the starter. But obviously Jeremy is the incumbent, so he will get the, we played today, Jeremy will take the snaps. But then after them, there's 4 other guys that are going to be, breathing down his neck. Junior Maritovic, which many of you guys probably remember, who played in 21, missed this year, but he's back. So Junior's going to be back competing. Ja'Cory Jordan, who had a few snaps last season, played a little bit in the Classic when Jeremy got hurt. He's back. Trey Fisher still here. And then we just brought in a transfer quarterback from Eastern Kentucky, DJ Boney, who Vaughn probably remembers his dad played here in the 80s, and but he's transferring in. He's here now as well. So we definitely have 5 quarterbacks in the room. Cameron Sapp entered the transfer portal, and so he is going to be transitioning on. But we have 5 right now, and that's a good solid number of guys to go through the spring and compete with. But encouraged about the depth at the quarterback position. DJ, he's about 6'2". Yeah. Yeah, he did really well. He did really well after that. He may have got a B. I don't know if he got all A's. I hope he did, but he did well. I give him that much. He did really well. But yeah, Eddie claims a 4.0 GPA too. I got a copy of that old transcript and. Yeah, so Ashton was one of the transfers we brought in from Jacksonville State, and Ashton right now is about 320, so he's going to drop a few, try to get down. He played at 312 last year, around that weight, so we want him in that 305 to 310 range. But he's doing well. We got one on campus today. Hopefully we can seal the deal with him, and then everyone else pretty much returns. We got one that we're kind of working through a eligibility issue of his clock, trying to determine to make sure his clock is in order. But if he returns, then everybody who played last year returns, and then we get Cesar Reyes back, who we lost the first game against Carolina. And so they're all a year older, which bodes well. Obviously, that group has worked together for a whole year, and I look forward to seeing them compete this spring. But we'll have, if barring injury or anything unforeseen, we'll have the deepest offensive line we've had since we've been here. Yes, Coach. I thought you were going to say the question for the AD, but I guess you're going to go ahead and give it to me now. We are. Yeah, a lot better. Well, to that point, to that point, we as a staff, we did come to the consensus that we went too early. We went too early last year, and to get there on a Wednesday for a Sunday game, just being in South Florida for 5 days, it was excessive. And so, not so much about the beach and the distractions, but it threw off our flow. And if you know anything about athletes in sports, we're on routine. Like our routine is what we're made of, and whenever you disrupt that routine, it takes a lot to keep them focused. And so we're having to change the practice times and having to change how we watch film and how we met, not having the entire team there. There was just a lot of external things that we had going on that, you know, we could do a much better job of. So this year, we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there after we've done the bulk of our practices. We'll be here in Tallahassee, and then we'll have our kind of run through practice once we get to Miami. So, but no, I definitely feel I feel like we have a really, really good plan this year. Headed down to South Florida to be able to bring the win home. Yeah, of course. So we don't go to the beach. That means Eddie, you can't go to the beach either. Then. So you don't get to go, and we can't go. I know you work hard on your beach body during the summertime, but you don't swimming. Well, our guys won't swimming either. Most of them probably can't swim. We are close. We're close. All right, we're close to finalizing the schedule. As soon as we get it finalized, we're gonna release it. And we know you want to get an early jump on the games and traveling, the hotels, and those type of things. So we're definitely working diligently. The AD, like I said, she'll be here up here in a second. But when she walked in. A lot of things were on the desk, and the schedule was one of them. So she's she's on it. But no, we'll be hopefully releasing the schedule here pretty soon that we can finalize once we get to finalize. Any other questions before we bring up the big boss? Keep your fingers crossed. Not yet. We have some who are being poached, and you know, as a head coach, I'm not a coach who tries to, you know, keep our guys here, but everybody has aspirations to ascend in this profession. And so, you know, we have guys that aspire to coach at the FBS level or to be coordinators, those type things. So when you have success, one of the downsides to success is that people, you know, want to see what you're doing and pull good coaches off your staff. And so every year we've lost coaches. Last year we lost 5. That was the biggest loss we had ever, was five coaches that we lost. And so I anticipate, you know, I don't know. But right now we do have a few coaches who have interviewed at places, will be interviewing at places. And so one of the challenges that we have, obviously, you know, is to find ways to incentivize keeping them. And obviously one of the biggest ways is, yeah. And so, you know, we don't have the highest budget in the conference. And one of the guys is contemplating making a lateral move to a conference team. And that's one of the challenges that we face, is being able to, you know, be able to incentivize ways to keep our coaches here, and being able to compensate them for the job they do is part of it. So as of right now, today, no, we haven't lost any, but, you know, I don't know tomorrow. We're probably middle of the pack. Yeah, we're probably right in the middle, somewhere in there. I know Jackson has a much higher budget. Alabama State has a higher pool. I mean, like I said, boss probably knows the answers to most of that, but I know we're somewhere in the middle. Yeah, Grambling has a higher budget. You know, they kind of rolled the carpet out for Hugh Jackson when he took the job there. So, but kind of, you know, that's kind of the trend when you hire new coaches. Obviously, everybody's kind of shooting for the fences now when it comes to hiring coaches. So NFL coaches, you know, former NFL players, it's kind of been the trend. And to entice those gentlemen, they're committing a lot to assistant salary pools, because that's one of the biggest things, being able to hire good staff. So, all right, but I think that's my time. So got one last question. Well, they're game 11, so by that time we'll know what they're doing. So I'm not worried too much about them right now. Honestly, I'm not even worried about Miami right now. We got spring practice that we got to get through. We got a spring semester that we got to finish strong in. And if the team that we're building now is all eligible and healthy and ready to go come early September, then the other teams better be worried about us. And so, yeah, that's my focus right now, is what we got to do today to be the best we can be. I'll worry about the kittens when that time comes. Yeah. All right. So I normally break bread with y'all, but since we got a recruit on campus, I'm gonna take the luxury to go eat some fried chicken over at the Calf. And so what I get as always, so next week we'll be on the road. The next 2 weeks probably be on the road, and then the Wednesday after that will be signing day. So I'll get with you, Ed, if you want to do something here during the day, and then we'll have obviously we'll list the recruits later on that evening. Okay. All right. Appreciate you guys.
Coach, before you leave, I want to say, if I'm not your starter, instead of 9-3, you might be 3-9. Yes, sir. Madam Vice President, I just want to take a moment to speak on something I read about for just a moment. I thought it was great. This gentleman said that there was no difference between the ocean and money. He said you can go to the ocean and take all the water out of it you want. It wouldn't make a difference to the ocean. Same thing about money. He said you can go to the ocean with a cup, get you a cup of water, or you can take a bunch of barrels and get millions of gallons. It wouldn't mean a thing to him. And same thing for money. You can make $100 a week, $1 million a week. The economy doesn't care. It won't impact money at all. So he said you can go to the ocean with a cup, or you can go with a big barrel. And I want to say that because I think that now at the age of the internet, we don't have to go to our money sources with a cup. I thought that was kind of deep. Yeah. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce the Vice President and Athletic Director, Miss Tiffani-Dawn Sykes. Had a senior moment there.
Thank you. I appreciate you leading with that particular story, but I do want to say, every gift we get makes a significant difference on our student athletes. So, I'm the daughter of 2 HBCU graduates, and sometimes there's a gap in HBCUs asking their alumni for gifts, but I learned to give to my alma mater whether they asked or not, because that's what I saw my parents doing. And so I started giving when I was making $20,000. I started giving to Virginia State University. So the only thing I ask is that if you're giving a teaspoon, try to give us a tablespoon. If you have a tablespoon, try to give us a quarter of a cup. If you got a quarter of a cup, try to give us a bucket. But I think everyone has the capacity to stretch a little bit. So whatever your ability is, I just ask that you consider stretching a little bit, because I'm serious. Every single dollar makes a difference in the lives of our student athletes and their experience. And like Coach Simmons said, and even retaining our coaches. Okay. I apologize for being late. Today was the only day I could meet with the president and CEO of VyStar. So my ask to Vistar is they've given a 6-figure gift to Florida State University athletics. So my ask was that they give us the exact same gift. And because they had a ribbon cutting at a new facility today, I had to be there to make sure that I had that conversation with him and share different expectations on what that partnership could look like and kind of what their vision is for the money and what our vision is for the money. So I apologize for my lateness, but I promise you it was a good use of my time. All right, so I'm officially 2 weeks into the job, and I've only been in the office 5 days because I've been on the road. About a week before I took over, I got a call from Nike saying that they were sponsoring a HBCU showcase for our track and field teams in New York, but unfortunately, we had been scheduled to compete at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Nike was paying for the lodging, paying for the airfare, paying for a number of things, and I said, well, let me call you right back. And so I went and had a conversation with the then interim coach, and he had some interest in doing it. So we committed to going, and our athletes had the opportunity to compete at the Armory, which is one of the best indoor track and field facilities in the country. It used to be owned by New Balance. Nike absorbed it, and they reached out and said, look, you are our flagship HBCU. This partnership does not work without your participation, and we need you to be here. And I said, well, we'll be there. The other good thing about the showcase is that on Friday night, Kim Godwin, president of ABC News, hosted me and some other alumni in New York to give me a chance to engage with some alumni and find out what their interests are. Then the following day at the track meet, we had 3 athletes to win first place. Our women's team took 3rd place. The men finished in 4th. But also there was a college fair. So people from admissions traveled there. And there were a number of prospective students who were there who got exposed to FAMU from us participating in this event. Also, the sponsors of the event held a college fair. So our current student athletes in between events were able to engage with a number of corporations and businesses about internship and career opportunities. And then we had, even though we were in the city, we had a number of alumni show up in their orange and green. And I apologize for not wearing it. Y'all, I've been eating so much since I got this job. I just got to put on what fits. But I do have on some snakeskin sandals. But I promise you, I'll start working out. So next time you see me, I'll be in the right colors. But but I mean, overall, it was a really good event. You know, I recognized my stepfather, who was a college athlete. He's from New York, and he would talk about the HBCUs that he knew of from being in that area. So I know there's a large demographic of HBCU graduates, and we want to continue to have that legacy of HBCU graduates from that area. So I thought it was really important that we get our student athletes up there for alumni to have the opportunity to see them compete, and for the next generation of Rattlers to have something to aspire to. So that was the first decision I made as an athletic director. A little bit about staff. So as many of you know, Michael Smith was the interim AD, served as the interim AD for 3 times, and has just been really great with helping me be onboarded into this position. So he expressed interest to me about staying within the athletics department. You know, he was a former football player and wanted to stay on board. So I created a position for him as the assistant vice president for athletics with focus on strategic initiatives and administration. So he has accepted that position, and I'm happy about that. Also, a young woman by the name of Brittany Johnson will serve as the senior associate athletics director for compliance. Compliance and ethics, athletics compliance reports to compliance and ethics. They don't report to me. Okay, they have a dotted line to me. So the best I could do was try to recruit some quality candidates to the pool and hope that they rose to the top. And that's exactly what Brittany did. She's coming from the University of South Alabama, but has previous SWAC experience, previous HBCU experience. She spent a number of years at Prairie View A&M University prior to her stint at the University of South Alabama. So she has over 10 years of compliance and student athlete academic experience. So I'm really excited that she rose to the occasion in the pool. I recruited a gentleman for the number 2 spot. He was offered the position, and at the last minute, of all places, he was offered a position at the NCAA office. So he accepted the position at the NCAA, but I'm like, if I'm going to lose somebody to anyone, you know, the NCAA is, you know, who I should be competing with. The last hire I was able to make in my first round of hires is Ms. Markel Broussard. Markel serves as my executive assistant. I first met Markel many years ago when I was a graduate student at Grambling State, majoring in sport administration, and Markel worked in the football office. So that was my first introduction to Markel as an undergraduate student. So I left, worked another 10 years in my career, and when I came back as the assistant athletics director there, Markel was an athletics academic advisor. So she was so good that I stole her from athletics academic advising and hired her in compliance. She left that institution and then continued her career working in compliance at Prairie View A&M University. So in her position, although it's not compliance specific, because of our well-known issues, I think it's important for me to hire people with knowledge of compliance and who are committed to an atmosphere of compliance. So I think it's critical to have someone like Markel who's willing to come and support me in this role. So really grateful for Markel being here, who also has over a decade of experience in college athletics. What else do I want to tell you all? We've had a lot happening in these 2 weeks. So February 1st nationally is known as National Girls and Women in Sport Day. And so every college campus, recreation center, many of them do things, and it's a young woman, young girl's first introduction to a number of sports. So when I got here, I asked if we had done anything in the past. Nothing had been done. And so I tasked Rhea Floyd, who does marketing and athletics, to partner with FAMU DRS for us to do something on their particular campus. So on February 1st, we're going to have our current women athletes and current coaches go over around 11:30 and have lunch with the DRS girls on their sports teams there. And then after lunchtime, we're going to have a panel where we've invited alumni Rattler athletes, former Rattler coaches, and we'll also have participating our current Rattler athletes and coaches, and we'll have the young girls from FAMU DRS participate in the panel discussion just about girls and women in sport. We're also partnering with the Hyper department on campus. They're developing a game for the students to participate in, but I wanted FAMU DRS to know early on that I recognize that they are on our campus, that partnership's important to me, and that's something I want to continue to work on, and I want to take the opportunity to highlight National Girl and Women in Sport Day. So that's something else that's happening in my office. I tried to just take a few notes on the way here. So again, 2 weeks in, I'm after football season. I know this is the quarterback club, but when I moved to Tallahassee, I was staying in a hotel for a few weeks. And I found out that Nick Dixon on our football team is from Tallahassee. So I reached out to Nick and invited him and his family to lunch. So they met me at a barbecue spot, and it gave me an opportunity to find out more about the city of Tallahassee, more about his experience as a student athlete, more about his family, et cetera. So I appreciate him, having lunch with an old lady like me. And his family was, very transparent about their experiences, things that they would like to see happen. Some things are really low-hanging fruit that we can deliver on immediately. So I was just grateful that they allowed me to do that. What else has happened in football? So Jeremy Musa, the quarterback, came to my office asking for permission to take an overload on courses. I did not know that I was the person who had to sign off on this. So I said, well, let me see your transcript. Straight A's. Not a single A-, not a B+, straight A's. So I said, I'm more than happy to sign off on this, because the reason he has to ask me is because we have to pay additional money for him to take these courses. All right. So I looked at his transcript and I thought the courses he had taken were very interesting. And I said, well, Jeremy, what is it that you want to do? And he says, I'm torn between being a sports agent and a real estate agent. And I said, well, I have a really good friend who was the agent for D'Angelo Hall, Cam Chancellor. I mean, we're talking significant first-round draft picks in my hometown, future Hall of Famers. And then when his children became college age, he transitioned out of sports agency into real estate to give himself the opportunity to watch his kids play college ball. I said, so let me call him for you. So I FaceTimed him, put him on the phone, which I thought was going to be a couple of minutes. But Musa was not bashful at all and spent about 35 minutes on the phone with my friend, asking him questions about both industries, what advice he had. I mean, he was really, really inquisitive. So I was excited to be able to make that connection. But about an hour later, Jeremy's department chair emailed me and said that Jeremy came to my office needing internship placement and couldn't decide, and now he wants to do his internship in your office. So Jeremy Musa will be doing his internship in the athletic director's office for the spring term. So I'm really excited to know that he had interest in doing that, and happy that we could partner with him on that. I did get a chance to talk to the team. They had a team meeting. I mean, Coach Simmons he's the best in the business. You know, I've been doing this for 20 years, and the way that he commands a room, the way that he has the team values outlined, the way that he has institutional priorities outlaid. I mean, it's good to see. So he has a really good rapport with the student athletes. I had to get on one of the transfer students because he had on his clothes from his other school. And I told him he had to turn his shirt inside out before he came in the meeting. And he wasn't happy with me, but then he got in there and found out who I was and changed his attitude a little bit. So those are really, I mean, five office days in, all of the updates I have, but I'm here to answer as many questions as you have for me. Well, maybe not as many as you have for me, but mm-hmm.
On the east side of the state, with everyone talking about doing something for the young people, getting them involved, not only for football, but for the basketball game and other games. Can we reach out to the Boys and Girls Club, the Police Athletic League, the Girl Scout, Boy Scout, to come up with a plan that we can have those students from far away as Columbia County? I know you don't know all the counties yet, but within an hour radius of Tallahassee, a $10 ticket or something on at least one of these Saturday games to make sure that east side is filled with students. Not only is that keeping them off the street, but that's giving them something to insight into the university that they can build on. Because what's happening, and I know that we haven't really experienced it yet, but normally the east side in the north corner over there is empty.
Okay.
And if we can get any revenue for that, the ticketing marketing person, anyone, can just invite the Boy Scout troop leader of the county, who's over Boys and Girls Club in these areas, just invite them up for breakfast or lunch and explain to them they have the resources and these to bring the buses and bring the money to give these kids field trips. Let's see, can we engage these young people, boys and girls, in something on Saturday to at least get them acclimated to FAMU and at least give them something to look forward to doing on the side. Can we put that in an action plan? Because if not, we'll see that the stands will be empty on that side because we're not engaging.
Thank you. And my media coach told me to repeat the question, but really quickly, I will just, he didn't know he was my media coach until just then. Congratulations, Vaughn, you're my media coach. So the question is, what can we do? What kind of plans can we put in place to ensure that we engage young people and the local community, surrounding communities, to one, make sure we have the stands filled so that there's a good student athlete experience for our current athletes, but also to give those students a look at what the experience is like on our campus and expose them to what Florida A&M is about and recruit them as potential students, correct? So I think that's a great point, and I appreciate you bringing that up. So yesterday, I went out and sat on the turf with the softball team, and some of the things that they highlighted to me were things that just need a plan, right? And as someone who's worked at limited resource institutions most of my career, I understand sometimes we're drinking from a fire hose and we're trying to just survive the day and get things done. But I realized once you take a pause and really take time to lay out a plan, things will then be more efficient for you, and they'll run a lot more smoothly. So that is one of my goals, to sit down with each particular area and have them provide me with what their plan is. Just for a number of reasons, but I do think, to your point, we've got to do something to engage. Nobody wants to come to college and play in front of an empty stadium, right? And I think it's our responsibility to ensure that there's the next generation of Rattlers. So I appreciate that feedback. I intend to work with the people in athletics and outside of athletics to see what the experts in those particular areas, community engagement, marketing, and advertising, can bring to the table. But I agree with you. We do need to make sure we have a plan to make sure these stands are full. Thank you. Sure. Mhm. So his comment was that there was an opportunity to provide tickets to DRS and the NCAA. So, well, if it's not targeted specifically to athletes and we're just targeting the entire school, it's really just a matter of messaging on how we're able to do that. So we can't say we just want the FAMU prospective student athletes, highly recruited athletes, or those on teams to come. But certainly there's a path to having them in the stands by opening up to the entire student body. Yes. So the comment was that Coach Simmons mentioned that we were close on the schedule, and could I make it any closer? So I will tell you that scheduling has been very front of mind, especially, after finishing 9-2 and not having any postseason opportunities, last season. I recognize we were in a conference that has given up their AQ to participate in the Celebration Bowl, but 9-2 is a certainly remarkable finish, and many people felt that we were deserving to have a playoff opportunity. With that said, I have engaged with other FCS institutions to try to make sure that we have a quality schedule, but it's requiring some of them to have to look at getting out of contracts, or even flipping games where we have similar bye weeks and moving games that we already have scheduled to another week. The general counsel at one of the institutions said that we'll know an answer by Friday. Another institution, they were supposed to let me know by 2:00 yesterday. But we're really, really close, but I can't even tell you who the last opponent is going to be. It's going to be who we can fill the schedule with, because as you know, it's really late. So I'm begging some quality opponents. So I want to make sure that we have a quality schedule. But again, there's a very limited pool of opponents who are available right now. We won't know. Yeah, we won't know. So his question is about softball, with the softball coach having the assistant. So yes, Coach Patterson, you may know, she served as the interim coach and was named head coach the day before I started. But I was really excited that she was offered and accepted that. I'll tell you about the softball team. When I came to campus for my interview, they offered the opportunity for all student athletes to participate in my interview process. And about 75 to 80% of the participants were from the women's softball team. So they are fierce advocates for their program. They're fierce advocates for the student athlete experience. And they held nothing back when I met with them again yesterday. And one of those things is resourcing and being able to pay, quality coaches and assistant coaches. But yes, she will have the opportunity to hire a coach on her staff. The young ladies really want a pitching coach to be what's hired with that position. But yep, she'll be able to hire someone. Yes. You. Well, I didn't say a dollar amount. I said a six-figure gift. Yeah. But by Star, if you hear us, we will take $600,000.
When I say that, we're talking about maybe in baseball, going to the owners, look at our people. Some other things that we really, really need. Our stadium, although it's recently been renovated, it could use many other things. Will you be the athletic director, not athletic director in committee? Now, the guy that was here the other day, last week, I forgot his name. Eddie.
Maurice Eddington.
He was saying about a team of people, and many times teams don't work. Somebody got to get to do it by their own and run with it, and that's what I'm asking. Are you the athletic director? Yes. Yes or no?
Yes. my coaches in the front are telling me to just say yes. But no, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I engaged with Kim Godwin when I went up to New York, is because she can identify power players who are able to make these large commitments to enhance our facilities, to enhance our coaching salary pools, etc. Now, I certainly plan on hiring someone on my staff who is an expert in athletics fundraising, because that is actually a specialty. Many people in here know that my specialty is compliance, right? So as I've gotten here, you know, I am grateful. The president has expanded the compliance staff. We now have 7 positions in compliance, 6 of them are filled. As far as I know, that might be the largest compliance staff in Division I, right? So now it's up to me as the athletics director to make sure that these people get the necessary education so they can provide accurate information and quality service to our student athletes, right? So grateful for the positions. There is some education that needs to be done, and they're willing to receive it, and I'm willing to provide it. We also have 5 academic advisors. Now, we went from 1 person in athletic academic advising to 5. So, and I know I've been saying I've only been in the office 5 days, but during those days, I was at the NCAA convention. And at the convention, I was able to sit down with the outgoing and incoming president of N4A, which is the National Association of Athletic Academic Advisors, and talk about, they offer a grant to HBCUs where they will come to your campus free of charge and evaluate your personnel, evaluate your processes, and give a best practices feedback model to that particular institution. So I'm telling you, that's what my background is. And because of things that went in the news, that's what my focus will be. But certainly I plan on being a good partner, working with Dr. Friday Stroud's office and identifying potential donors, using my relationships to identify additional donors, leaning on you to identify people that I need to talk to. And I will fly anywhere for a check. I will go anywhere, anytime to get money on behalf of FAMU, or even to begin cultivating relationships that will hopefully lead to a donor. Okay, you're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
I too am a 50-plus-year season city coach, and I want to first of all commend you for being the first woman athletic director.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and explain to the group, because some people say first, some people say second. So Sarah Hill Yates was first named the athletic director for women's sports during her tenure here. And this was pre-Title IX having to be fully implemented. So at many schools, at all schools really, there was an athletic director for women's sports and then an athletic director for men's sports. So she was the first person to serve as the athletic director. I am the first to serve as the athletics director over the entire enterprise. So first and second, both right in their own description. I will tell you, on my first day at work, I called Sarah Hill Yates, and that's who I spent my time on the phone with on my drive to work. So we have a really good relationship. She's been able to, even things that happened when she was here are still applicable now. You know, she told me that there's a fund for Title IX specifically to support women's sports that I didn't know anything about. So it allowed me to ask. So she's been a really great resource for me. And I've been telling this story a million times. So I'll tell you, since we brought it up about her being the AD for women's sports. So Brittany Johnson, who we brought in as the senior associate for compliance, is also my senior woman administrator. And what that means from the NCAA landscape, it is the highest ranking woman in the athletic department. But when you have a woman who's the AD, you can designate someone else as the SWA because it gives them access to represent institutions on the NCAA committees, right? So the only people who have access to NCAA committees are the president, the faculty athletic rep, the athletic director, the senior woman administrator, and head coaches. So it's important for me to tap another woman with that responsibility to increase our chances on being represented on national committees. But the reason that position was created, that designation was created by the NCAA, is because when we had, back in Sarah Hill Yates days, a woman athletic director and a man athletic director, and Title IX caused them to merge, almost every woman lost their job as an athletic director. Right? And so in response to that, and it was over a decade later, the NCAA created this designation to make sure that women had a voice and were represented at the table and access to NCAA committees.
I have a question. The question is, last year we moved into renovated stadium.
Mhm.
And for instance, I had, let's see, 19 rows, 31, 32 seats or whatever. When they expanded the length of the seats for individuals, it reduced the number of seats on that row.
Mhm.
And because I was in the first two, instead of moving me to the next two, they sent me all the way to the end. So my seat is now almost in the end zone. Fortunately, I'm a supporter of whatever, I sit in that end zone section. But I tried to get it corrected last year.
Okay.
And they said, unfortunately, it's too late, and they couldn't do anything. So subsequently, I never sat in those seats down in the end zone. I sat in the end zone with the food and everything.
Okay.
And so my question is, would you be able to make adjustments or corrections in those?
I think certainly when we have someone who's a 50-year season ticket holder, we need to make some concessions, but I also understand when it's brought to their attention late, they can't pull back seats. So I think you bringing this to my attention now. Markel, will you write it down and you'll get our information? Yep, we can talk to them now. Oh, I didn't repeat the question. So the statement in question was that I have a 50-year season ticket holder who's had a seat in a particular location close to midfield for many years, and because of the expansion of the stadium, which included wider, longer seats, if I'm understanding correctly, right, it changes the number of seats in each row, which meant that her seat was then moved closer to the end zone and not the 50-yard line, and several others. Okay, so and she was told that when she called, it was too late. And I understand that happens because the tickets have already been kind of recalibrated and redistributed. But certainly someone with 5 decades of giving, we want to see what's available and if there's another seat that can better accommodate your needs. So we'll follow up on that. Yeah. We'll have some growing pains, and that happens every time you redo a facility, redo parking, things get moved around a lot. So I ask you all to give us a little grace, but don't stop bringing it to my attention so that I can talk to the right people about it. Yes, sir.
So that's a major issue as it relates to seating that I would recommend that you put on your.
So let me make sure I understand correctly. We're serving reserved seats in an area that has limited view of the field. Okay. Okay, I'll take a look at that because I know even when you go to a play, they'll at least tell you that the seat you're purchasing is limited view and make you sign off whether or not you want it or not, but it sounds like there was no indication that these seats would not have a direct view of the field and would be blocked. So if they want to continue to sell them, we need to make sure that it's indicated that it's limited view. Yes, ma'am.
To the end zone because the press box took some of our seats. So the press box is the response. Is the problem of the seating and what he was talking about.
Yep. I mean, I appreciate the concerns about the press box, but also the press box. I know some people see like the president is up there, or I may be up there, but really the press box is a working space. So we have our coaches calling plays from up there. We have the opposing coaches calling plays from up there. We film from up there. Media is up there distributing statistics, generating statistics. Radio is up there. So it's really important that we do have a good, full, safe press box. But Dr. Walker, it sounds like you want it all. You want the big press box, and you want the seats, and you want to sit in the front row at the 50-yard line. And I can't do it all. I got to just do my best. Got it.
And why there was a few problems
Yep.
because of the extension of press box.
Got it.
So, like you say, we got growing pains.
Yep.
And now we got a lot of time before the football season starts.
Right.
To solve those problems about putting us in the end zone and all that.
Right.
Like you say, the long time season ticket.
Yep.
Oh, no, I think
Yep.
If I could, just a little institutional knowledge about the change to the structure of the press box. I don't need the microphone. Right? If you notice, about 5 rows up on the lower level on both sides, there is now an ADA wide pathway. Yeah. Behind what you see as the press box, there's that same width, so that wheelchair access. Bragg was out of compliance, and so when it was rebuilt, they had to come into compliance. So you got wide areas that were made to accommodate on both sides. On the east side, there is that walkway as well. I mean, that driveway as well. So that is one reason why the press box looked like it was not expanded so much as they had to put behind it the ADA pathway.
Thanks, Coach Vaughn. Yes, sir.
The question, you stated something that I hadn't thought about, that the positions of the seats were locked in for the computer processing early. And then it's difficult to change, because I tried that last year.
Yep.
And so when is that date more or less coming up before it'll be difficult to change anything about it?
Yeah, I don't know that date offhand because I haven't met with the ticket office yet.
Yeah.
Because they need me to finalize the schedule first.
I got something I want to change,
Yep.
But I need to know when to get in there.
I hate to even say it this way, but I would reach out to the ticket office and let them know now that, your seat was moved. You know that this is computer generated, but you want to get ahead of it and see what they have that's a better fit.
I had 2 tickets, they put them on different rows, whereas normally I would be sitting together.
You know what? And that's probably a programming issue. Because in my earlier days, and Markel was with me, I used to give tickets to the student athletes' parents at will call. And so I would have to pay attention if someone came with a family of 4, that I wasn't giving them the last 2 rows on one seat in one row and then the next 2 seats on the next row. So we would have to move things around to make sure we can accommodate it. So that's probably a programming issue that we make a note of that. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention because no one said that. Yeah.
So, in the ticket's office.
Okay.
So, you might want to reach out to her.
Okay.
To help solve the problem.
Okay.
She's well aware of what's going on.
All right. Thank you. Yes, sir.
One thing that would help us with revenue is we never had a season ticket ride. 99% of our season ticket holders have a red, blue, and white Medicare. Amen. We need a season ticket plan outreach to somebody new. Because Rev, you hit 70, I'm on somebody else's time now. need to have a marketing plan. All these homecoming people and Florida Classic people that just come for that game, they need to purchase a season ticket. And we just had 10,000 season tickets from Jacksonville to Pensacola to Tampa to Orlando at $100 or whatever. We have a
They're gonna be more than $100.
That's at least give us a base to build a budget on, but we never had. We got all these alumni. We need to have a marketing plan for season tickets. We used to, and I'm not bringing back, we used to have payroll deduction for all the state employees. All 67 counties got state employees. If they had payroll deduction, that'd be for all employees of the state to deduct money for season tickets. But we have to have a plan. And my point is, we've never had a plan. Building champions is one thing, but that just causes a certain group of people gonna give. We need to try to expand that with a marketing plan for season tickets, for people to be members, and expand this group because hey, time's ticking on us. And
It's ticking on everybody.
we need to expand this base. To these graduates who come in here, we got graduates who were in the they working in these Fortune 500 companies and won't even give. You know, but we need a plan because common thing out here, nobody reach out to them. I know people lie. That was a good liar. We need at least to come back and say, no, we have a plan. It's on the radio. It's on, I know those things call, but we got to do that to get people involved.
That's a good question. Let's see you summarize that.
Look, all I know is he's the plan man, because that's the second plan he's requested that I put together. So no, I appreciate the feedback about the marketing. I really need to look at what we're currently doing and see what the cycle is, because we may be off cycle with our marketing, but also engage. You know, one thing I realized, so I started a group called the Varsity Club at my alma mater, which was a chapter of the Alumni Association open specifically to athletes. And in conversations with people that I recruited to that particular group of people, is students were saying they didn't have a good experience. You know, they were scorned because they were on a half scholarship, not a full scholarship, or they were scorned because they had a late registration fee on their account, or they had $1,000 in parking tickets that they had to do before they graduated. You know, and the thing I had to share with them is your unwillingness to give. Like, you're mad at the previous AD or the previous president or your previous English professor, but no matter who's in those roles, what you do directly impacts the student athletes, right? So in spite of your experience, in spite of who was in whatever role scorned you while you were there, it's important for you to give so that the people who are there don't walk away with the same experience that you do. So that's going to take, to his point about me engaging with people and cultivating relationships and, you know, frankly, earning their trust. You know, that's one thing I talked to the alumni in New York about. You know, I've known Courtney for 10 years, right? And I know that he came from a background of facilities. And when people give money to facilities, you can see them right away. So people felt good about being able to see, this is where my money went. And we will get there, but right now I'm tasked with internal controls and protecting the institution and institutional controls and making sure that our student athletes are eligible. So that's not to say we won't have renovations, we won't have new facilities, but you won't see them tomorrow, because right now my focus is making sure that I'm giving the student athletes a good experience and putting the best professionals around them to ensure that. But I appreciate that comment. Thank you. I know you had your hand up.
So, I think an immediate change would be, talking to that staff about customer service. So we always have expectations of customer service. Now, I got a real better blue card now, but I bought 6 for the last 40 years. Now it's in my 20s.
Mhm.
Now I'm in my 60s. But, it's like, you got no, the older you get, the less respect you get. The people don't care what you anymore. Now, like, you're not getting your service anymore. But we started in our 20s.
Mhm.
Now that we're in our 60s, we keep to the curve. And you feel disrespected. I felt so bad this past year. I don't know what I'm going to stay home on Saturday. It's not worth fight, it's not worth frustration. And at our age, you get frustrated, especially you're black, you're stroke.
Please calm down and don't get worked up in here and have a heart attack. Yep. Yep. Right. So his feedback was just about lack of timely responsiveness or any responsiveness at all from our athletics department. So we have an athletics action plan. And one of the things that I had added to the plan yesterday was responsiveness. Now, this was actually in reference to student athletes reaching out to staff and us being able to respond to them in a timely fashion. And, I've inherited a number of people. There are also a number of vacant positions. And I hope as people get to know me, they know what their expectations are of me. The group asked me in New York, how do student athletes get to you? And I said, just today I had a student athlete send me something on Twitter. I had a student athlete send me something on Instagram about getting access codes for their classes, about wanting me to talk to their mother about their balance. So if the athletic director can engage with people where they are and on Twitter and return tweets and direct messages, it's my expectation that my staff will do the same thing. Now, Markel knows we set up last night and I tried to get through about 120 emails and I got down to about 108. But that's also my responsibility to make sure I hire staff in those vacant positions so that everybody is able to have access to people and more people can address your concerns. So I appreciate that, but that's not unique. It's not the first time I've heard it. So it's up to me to make sure my staff knows that. Yes. See, my head wasn't on the swivel. I want a cornerback. So I wasn't looking left, but go ahead.
Where would you like for me to be at kickoff time? In my seat or fighting the food?
At kickoff time, I would love for you to be in your seat. But that means, because I know where this is going. This means I have to communicate with the hospitality staff that they need to make sure that they're open hours before kickoff so that you can come and dine and wine and fraternize and do everything you need to do in that space before you go to your seat. Because I think it was homecoming I came, and I'll tell you what I was told. Oh, I'm sorry, Vaughn. The question was, where do I want him at kickoff? Do I want him in his seat or do I want him in the end zone and the hospitality space? And so it would be really good if we could have the space open early enough. And I was told what happened last time is they had set a hard time of we open at 4:00, right? 5:30, but whatever time it wasn't adjusted to the change kickoff time. Right. So that's something we need to be mindful of when we have our game day operations meetings and say that the opening of that area should not be a hard time. It should be a certain number of hours prior to kickoff. So we will work on that on our end. And we just want you to enjoy the end zone and get to your seat for kickoff. Yes, sir. Okay, I got one right here and then I'll get her next. The question is, will I continue to go on a fundraising tour like the previous administrations did? So I've been working with Carmen Cummings for us to launch the next strike tour. I actually have a call tomorrow with one of our donors, Lakeisha Gaines, who wants to host a fundraiser at her home. I'm not sure what city we will start in, but the idea is that we will identify at least 10 cities for me to get to and for me to engage in alumni and do that fundraising. So yes, we absolutely have already talked about the strike tour. Coach Simmons knows that he's expected to be on tour. Coach McCullum knows he's expected to be on tour. Coach Patterson knows she's expected to be on tour. But yes, we will be doing that. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
One of my questions that I just asked about the timing for the hospitality and the game time.
Your old boyfriend.
No, I think he heard you loud and clear.
Because my friends and I, when we went last year, we went early enough before kickoff, and they specifically told us, the person that is running this told us, no, we can't open till 4 o'clock. Game kickoff is at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
That didn't make any sense.
Yep.
So if this is in our package, and we got to pay for it, they need to accommodate us.
Right.
Not we accommodate them. Okay. Second point, I'm going to piggyback on what Marie said earlier about the student tickets and all of that. I had this conversation with someone last year, and I'm just throwing this out there and hope you put it on the table somewhere. I think it would be a good thing if you set a certain total or a certain amount for students of certain age to come in at that same price all the time, all the games, instead of a 10-year-old having to pay $45. If you reduce the price for students, say 10 and under, let that stay at 10 and under for the entire season, you might get more parents to bring their children to school, which would give you $10 is more than no dollar. You know, I know it may not be a lot of money, but that's $10 more than you have. And if you reduce the price for the students at a certain age, you'll get more people in the state. And let it stay at that price and not keep fluctuating, because when you do, if a parent has 3 children, they want to bring those children, but they can't because they can't afford to pay $45 for each child. But if you can, that's something that you can think about to do, that might help with the attendance in the state.
So her comment was having a set ticket price for a kid's price, young adult's price, and not having one fluctuate. I will tell you that that's industry standard. The industry standard is that there is a reduced rate for each game, with a premium being placed on like homecoming. So that's something I'll have to take a look at, but that's not unique to Florida A&M. So, but certainly I hear your concerns, and we can take a look at what makes sense. There are people online? I didn't know people were online. Is this camera? Hello, online. Hello, online.
This question says, if there will be any special activities during any remaining basketball weekend that will motivate any out-of-town fans.
Is that Mike Reed?
That is Mike Reed.
Hey, Mike Reed. So, Mike, I will. I've had some time with my marketing team to allow them to look at a plan. There is an event that I mentioned to you on the call that we had the other night when I was in San Antonio on Zoom. That is kind of front of mind. But right now, you know, we're well into the season, and the marketing plan that's already been laid out is the one that we want to make sure we carry throughout the rest of the season. But there could be a surprise here or there. I don't know. But thanks for the question, Mike Reed. Mike Road Dog Reed. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Last year, the athletic director cut out the radio program. He said it cost $90,000 more than what that the university could afford to pay. So they put it on the FAMU radio station, which a country boy like myself, I can't get it. I'm 15, 20 miles out in the country. I can't get it. And I had to continue doing stuff through my computer technician. That cost me money. or like the doctor here said, she has been ticket holder for 50 years. Another person has been 50. I've been over 50 myself, and I am not going to continue paying for a computer to get the game. Now, either you're going to have to get the thing on radio, or you're going to lose the dang 50-year bill.
Where do you live? Where do you live with no radio service?
I didn't say I didn't have radio. I said FAMU radio. You only get it on campus, basically.
Okay. Okay.
90.5 is pretty much on campus. 96.1 is the radio station that they had been using. It carries out over about 100 miles, but they took it off because of $95 or 95,000 miles, whatever. That should be under the marketing program #1.
What's your name?
McKinley Smith.
So viewers, McKinley Smith is the gentleman that's yelling at me right now about his, I want to make sure everyone knows who's yelling at me right now about the radio. So Mr. Smith, no, Smitty. So you may know him as Smitty. So Smitty, to my online viewers, is who's yelling at me right now. But his concerns are about, no, I'm joking. He has delivered a very passionate address regarding the radio and the broadcast of the games. It was previously on a higher frequency station, which allowed him to listen from home. But now it's only broadcast on the FAMU station, which it doesn't expand quite as far, and it's causing you to have to pay for a computer technician to come help you troubleshoot and listen online. So I'll have to look at, this is the first I've heard of it. So I really don't have a good answer for you right now, but it's something that Markel, she has a growing list of notes for me over here, but it's something I'll definitely take a look at. Yes, sir. Okay. So, I mean, like I mentioned before, I think my hope is that anyone who's given a teaspoon will give a tablespoon, right? You know, it's interesting. I've been working in college athletics for 22 years. And fans, much like Smitty, are very passionate about the game. And I need everyone to be a really good ambassador and good advocate when you're speaking about FAMU or speaking to FAMU students or speaking, because we have some people who get so wrapped up in a play call that they are, or a play not being completed, that they take the social media and they're beating up our athletes. And it makes it difficult to recruit other athletes when we see, and I'm not saying they're alumni, they might just be fans, you know, who have taken it personally. But it makes it difficult for us to show that this is the college of love and charity when after a game, they're, for lack of a better term, attacking our coaches and players. So I just need everyone who has every opportunity to speak on behalf of FAMU to make sure that they do it from a place of love and a place of advocacy. And also to, you know, stretch as much as you can financially. You know, I was fortunate enough to sit in the Division I football oversight committee meetings because of a program I'm in with the NCAA. So it was the football oversight committee meeting and 2 additional people, and I was one of those 2 people. And one of the things that they said was that for Division I schools to maintain where they are after survey data, it will cost every institution about another $1.5 million. And that's just to stay status quo. So that's not if we want to advance. That's for us to be in the same place we were last year. It will cost every Division I institution about another $1.5 million. And we want to excel. So that means we need 1.5 plus for us to be players in this game. So, you know, if you have classmates who are not engaged or haven't given, I'm charging you all to ask on my behalf, right? Because that's the only way that we can really excel. I mean, it costs dollars. And I hate to be in front of donors and every time you see me, I'm talking money, money, money. But that's what really will drive an excellent experience and an excellent product. Oh, you said he could give me some. I thought you were going to say money. You know? Yes, sir.
Two questions. You mentioned earlier that compliance does not report to you. Is that standard? And secondarily, what do you think of our non-revenue generating facilities?
So so the question is, he brought up the fact that I mentioned that our athletics compliance reports to university compliance and ethics and not directly to the athletics department, and asked if that was standard. So it varies from campus to campus. So I came from a campus where athletics compliance reported to me as the executive associate AD, and then I reported to the athletic director. However, at Grambling State University, when I was the assistant AD for compliance, I reported directly to the president, because they wanted to make sure that there was a level of integrity between those two spaces. And so there are many different models. There are many campuses where they report to university compliance. There are many campuses where they report up to the president, because that's ultimately who's held responsible for institutional control and compliances. And there are many who report through athletics compliance. So we're not an anomaly in any way. And the second question was, how do I feel about our non-revenue generating facilities? So I need to schedule a tour, because I've seen many of them from the outside, but I haven't seen like some of the locker rooms, right? So, and it's my understanding that some of our non-revenue facilities are funded by partly funded by either the recreation facility or by ENG dollars. For example, even like Lawson Center, which is a facility that our revenue team plays in, it's funded through educational dollars. So I really need to take some time to find out how different facilities are funded, and also just spend some time in the facilities, which is why when I met with the softball team yesterday, I didn't have them come to my office. I went out and sat on the turf with them. So it gave me an opportunity to see what's going on, and they brought up some of their concerns. So I need a little more time on that. Yes, sir.
First of all, let me thank you again for continuing to be happy with the last.
Yes, sir.
I was told to ask you this question. We'll see the tickets go up, the price go up this year. With that 1 million.
I won't know what the season ticket price will be until I work with the ticket office, until we finalize a schedule. Yeah. So I appreciate it, but I don't have an answer. The question was, will ticket prices go up? Now, eventually they will. I promise you they're going to go up. But I don't know when. Online? We have time for 2 questions? Yes, sir. I'm not fully in the loop on any changes to parking yet. Yes, sir. So the comment was that we make sure that we have an option for digital and hard copy tickets to be purchased. Because right now, is it digital only, or it's both? Okay. All right. So the comment is just to try to see if we're able to make sure that you have the option to purchase hard copy tickets or purchase digital tickets for the games. Does that count, Vaughn? Because that was a comment, it wasn't a question, and we said 2 more questions. Okay, so 1 more question. Yes, sir. Yeah, this is my second visit. I'm having a good time. I'm sweating a little bit if y'all can't tell, because Smitty lit me up earlier. So anything else? Maurice, the man with the plans. We got plan number 3. No, I'm just oh my goodness. I appreciate you being here.
I just want to thank you for coming and make you aware that when you go to these alumni fair events, there are going to be 2 types of rappers. One is a fan and others are supporters.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference.
So
fans will buy a homecoming ticket and a Florida Classic ticket. Supporters are going to be like the people in here who give and support. And those fans will do some ugly, bad mouthing about FAMU. But they're not going to get 1 dime.
Yep.
So my advice, even with the Florida region meeting in Jacksonville next come with some season ticket, whole application, and put people on the spot. Because they're gonna ask you all kind of questions. They're gonna brag that they haven't been on campus since 1957. They're proud about that. But they're not supported, they are fans. So just be aware that they're gonna mill you with all kind of questions and insights. But when it comes down to writing the check, it's gonna be the people in this room that need support. That's why I thank you for coming, because you realize these are the backbone of the people that give to the 220, they give to the boosters, they give to anything that comes in there that this group gives. And that's the kind of support that is, and these are support.
I appreciate that. So his comment talked about just recognizing the difference between fans and supporters, and me recognizing that I'm in front of a group of supporters right now. And I certainly appreciate it. You know, one of the things that, you know, when I first heard of FAMU, my first experience of FAMU, you know, you could tell people love FAMU. And I mean, it's a legacy that kind of keeps on giving, you know, because people really love being here. I mean, I've talked about my first moment at a football game and what that felt like for me. But we need people to be supporters and not just buying a ticket or wearing their orange and green and haven't been on campus since 1957. But I also appreciate you mentioning the Florida Regional Alumni Conference that'll take place in Jacksonville. I'll be there Friday night, maybe early Saturday, but I have to get back because we have a home basketball game. So I look forward to seeing you there and anyone else who plans on coming. I am going to make it my business to be there and engage. So I'm really excited about it. But I appreciate you extending the invitation for me to be here and being patient with me while I was out of town and giving me some time to get here and being patient with me being late today and being patient with me not being able to answer all of your questions today. But I do really appreciate all of you being here. So thank you so much. Thank you.
I want y'all to know that the athletic director worked real hard to get here, and pacing the way was Markel. She answered all my phone calls, returned my emails, and she told me she will be there. So she's already, she knows what to do. One thing we left out today, when you have more time, I'd like to tell you about some of my football experiences in high school. But thank you so much for coming. I know how difficult it is and how much you have to do now. And thank you, Markel. Can we have another round of applause for Markel, please?
I do want to say this. I have 3 vacancies on my senior staff. But once I get as many people plugged in, I want to invite you in because I think it's important for the people I hire, because everyone doesn't have the same exposure or experience to FAMU that I do. But I want them to get as much history and knowledge so that they can speak with pride about FAMU and be able to speak to some of the historical accomplishments and things that we want to replicate. So it's important for me to make sure that my staff has the history, and I know you're the person to do it. So that's coming.
Yes.
If you look around the room, it's over 1,000 years of
And that 1,000 years is just in Maurice. he may not come back. But anyway, it's time for to hear from we're closing up, but time for to hear from our booster president. And Selvin, you met Selvin, right? Have you met Colonel Joe? Colonel Joe.
No.
Well, I'm gonna let Selvin. Selvin, how about introducing the booster staff?
Okay. Will all our booster members stand? Yes, you're a life member. Not only are you a booster member, but you're a booster life member. That's right. As you can see, when you come to 220, you're coming to a Rattler Boosters Club meeting as well. Okay. But right quick, at this time, my membership chair, Melody. He said, talking to Mike. I thought I was. Melody Hadley, we would like to present to you your green Rattler Boosters polo shirt. I got the orange one on. Okay, one more presentation. We have our life member here who will be receiving his life membership plaque, and that is Sergeant Major Gene McKinney. Will you come forward, please? And if you don't have one, I encourage you to get one. This is the Florida A&M University Rattler Boosters Incorporated recognizes Gene McKinney as a life member, a distinction reserved for those who outstanding generosity perpetuates financial security for the Rattler Boosters and the FAMU Athletic Department in perpetuity. Life member since 2022, life member Gene McKinney. Thank you, sir. And for those who don't know, what we do is we take our life membership monies and we deposit into the FAMU Foundation, and it is in a, what do we call it, Bill? Endowment. Okay, it's in an endowment, and what we were able to do is we were able to spend the interest off of the monies, and that goes back into our operations account. So we don't want everybody to be life members, because if you're life members and we don't have enough life members, we may not have enough for operations. So we want some of you all to still be annual dues paying members too. But again, I'd like to encourage you. Last month when we had our Rattler Boosters meeting, you all received the link. We will be doing that from now on, where you will get the link for our board meetings. And as normally, Mikhail has our schedule, and she has almost assured me that you will, PP Sykes, that you will be on each month. So you get a chance to get a little more of what you got today on Zoom call. And again, I'd like to thank you all for coming out this evening, and I'll turn it back over to our illustrious chair.
Madam Vice President, before you leave, there's some people, Gene McKinney, who just became a life member. These people started FAMU's first football nutrition program. And Gene McKinney just contributed $8,000 to that nutrition program in honor of his son's name. Is Roy Moore still here? Oh, shucks. Okay. Roy Moore owns 2 Piggly Wigglies, so I know you wanted to meet him. Oh, you met him already? Oh, okay. Is Dr. Blackshear still here? Everybody's going. Dr. Freddie Grooms is still here, who had asked a question. She's one of the top educators in this area. She's retired now, but she was a big wheel when she All right. Let's see who Wilbur Johnson talks a lot, but he doesn't give much money. Don't forget Dennis Jefferson, if you want to make a contribution to his service. See Wilma. Just leave it with Wilma, and we'll see that Tillman's Funeral Home. Get your checks. Same time next week, people. Okay.